Hey, party people. It's Alexander and Don here. You're watching Reviving Discourse. Don,
Episode
how you
7.
doing today?
Episode 7. I'm doing all right.
Episode 7.
Doing great.
Episode 7. It is currently 6 p.m. 12-4-2019. And this is episode 7 of Reviving Discourse. My mistake. Don, how you doing today?
Still all right.
Still all right?
Yeah.
Okay. I interrupted you a little bit back there. I want to make sure everyone heard that Don was all right. I'm doing all right as well. And today we're going to be discussing an issue very near and dear to my heart. Kamala Harris has officially been poised to drop out of the running.
Oh no.
Of the race. Yeah.
Who is that?
Yeah. It's I was gonna say it's a great loss. I was gonna be sarcastic a little bit longer. But yeah. So Kamala Harris, for most of you probably don't even know about this. She's one of the Democrats that was recently running, and it appears that she's going to drop out now, largely because she's an impersonal weirdo and had a lot of extremist ideas about cracking down on crime. I was reading a little bit of her Wikipedia page before we started this, and just to confirm some rumors that I had heard, mostly because in regards to Kamala Harris, I've heard a couple things: law and order and no nonsense. Kind of like Sarah Palin, but on the other side of the coin. You know what I'm talking about? You remember Sarah Palin, guys?
That was a while ago. Well,
This is a really deep cut reference analogy.
Was Palin
for
in
my
the 2012 election?
2008 was when Obama was elected, right?
The first time, yeah.
The first time, yeah. She was there making noise, making ruckus.
Yeah, Palin was the VP for McCain, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so that was 2008. Wow, I would have been 14, I think.
Yeah.
What?
So you probably don't remember the finer details of Sarah Palin's whole thing, but yeah, Kamala Harris basically made her. She was from a really tough. She was born in Oakland, California, which is a tough area, and then she was in an office in that same area. And so the way that she campaigned was by pointing out that her person that she was competing against didn't have a high conviction rate. And so she made it into office on that stance and made the conviction rate higher, which sounds good on paper, but in reality, if your only goal is to get a higher conviction rate, then you're already messing up the job of law enforcement.
That's a good point.
You don't want there to be more crimes. That's like making more tickets to close. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I know what you're saying. Yeah, that's hard to say. You can't really put a metric on that. How about lower accusation rates or indictments?
Or incidents. I don't know. That's just mincing words at that point. But I think that we need to focus on rehabilitation as a country as opposed to punishment. Like the prison system as it exists right now is more of a punishment than anything else.
Yeah. How do we do that? What do we need to change?
Aren't there some countries that are already implementing things like this?
What's step one for the United States?
Step one?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's up to me, probably deprivatize the prison system, make it like a federally funded job to get instead of like a corporate job.
Where do prisons get their money currently?
I mean, hey, that's a good. Don't they sell labor for pennies on the dollar? Like the meme of the guy pulling the lever and making a license plate,
or breaking a rock with a pickaxe
in the hot sun because he fought the law and the law won.
Oh, they make it from government subsidies, so shouldn't they already be? Shouldn't they already be government entities?
Okay, so there's a difference between government subsidies. Like there's banks that are too big to fail, right? They get government subsidies. There are mining operations that get government subsidies, or oil operations, because those are things that are too big to fail. Because oil is something that our society needs. I would argue that the opposite is true when it comes to prisons. The less we had of those, the better we would be as a society.
The less prisons?
Yeah. Ideally, if we didn't have to change anything else but how many people were breaking laws. I'm not saying that we're letting people get away with it just so we look better.
Let's say we can't change people's minds. What do we do to make the prison system better? Step one.
Okay. Yeah. If we have to make the prison system better, the first thing that we need to do is have a separate tier of criminality. You know how you can get charged as a minor?
Yeah, don't we already have that with probations?
I don't think that's nearly enough. I think there's a huge skyrocketing graph that once you go, like what laws have you broken? I'm sure you've gotten a speeding ticket.
No.
Maybe. Have you ever parked illegally?
Yes.
Okay. So if you parked illegally, that's a different crime than if you hurt somebody, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're out there and your crimes are hurting people, that's when maybe a more prison-like context would make sense. But if you're, for example, abusing drugs or public indecency, maybe you fell asleep on a bench because you didn't have somewhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put those people in the place with the people that hurt people.
Okay.
Let's separate that. And I have a whole crazy theory that I'm not going to expound on because I don't want to look like a crazy person this early in the episode. Okay. But let's just say for my first step, I would do that. I would have a separate tier of criminal, one that doesn't stop you from getting jobs just because you're on the record as being in possession of something, for example, that is not allowed.
Well, drug possession is a felony. Sleeping on a bench.
Exactly. That's the opposite of how it should be. Don't you like
in public indecency is not a felony. So there already is those tiers, right?
Okay, no, that only exists. That only proves my point even better because the felony category is that tier system that you're describing, right?
Sure. Yeah.
If I were to hit you with my car, that would be a felony.
Yes.
If I were to have in my possession a small amount of an illegal substance, that would also be a felony.
Yes.
You notice how in the second example, how much less car hit you got?
Well, now I'm just addicted to the small illegal substance, which arguably is worse.
Well, that's where the first tier would come in. The first tier of the justice system would be, hey, what's going on? Why are you messing with illegal substances, sir? Can we talk about this every day, every week, 30 minutes? At least check in, maybe do some tests just to make sure you're on the up and up.
10 years prison.
10 years prison. That's not even an exaggeration. That's actually what you will get instead of like a treatment. Is you'll be thrown in a place with people that like to hurt people and that we have trouble getting to stop hurting people. That's what I don't like about our system right now. Is this conflagration of violent criminals and non-violent criminals. It shouldn't be misdemeanor and felony. It should be violent and non-violent. Specifically. That's what I would say to that.
What about the person who let's say punches a 4-year-old in the face?
Oh God.
So that they go to jail for assault and probably a million other things. Yep.
Yeah.
What about the person who steals $1 million from a charity and runs away and then gets caught?
Are you comparing those two? Like, do you think that they should be in separate tiers?
Should they be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I see what you're saying. So one person's harming one little baby, and the other person's harming several hundred people. One's physical and one's not.
Yes.
I think that the government guarantees you your physical safety, not necessarily your right to donate to a charity and have it go where you think that it did. If that makes sense.
Fraud's a big deal.
Absolutely. It's not as big a deal as like your physical life though. Like if you had one ambulance and 2 calls, you're not going to go to the fraud one first. You know what I mean?
What if this was what if the $1 million was to cure lymphoma or something?
And then all those people die.
Yeah.
I guess my monkey brain, let me elaborate. My monkey brain can't comprehend that same severity as the person that's hurting a person in real time.
Okay. So why would we would have to you're saying specifically separate crimes where someone is physically hurt and someone is physically hurting someone else with all other crimes is what you would want to do?
Yeah. I mean, I without examining it, and absolutely.
All right. So we take let's think of other crimes. What about we'll say illegal transfer of weapons through black markets? Would you count that as violent?
I would say you are facilitating violence.
Okay. How about
Well, wait a minute. Yeah, no, I stand by it. I gotta stand by it. Go ahead.
okay? How about human trafficking?
Human trafficking, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very special kind of violence.
Yep.
That's awful.
Or what else is a horrible crime? Blackmail.
You know, blackmail. Okay, all of these things that you're pointing out are specifically a person aggroing another person, right?
Sure. Selling drugs.
Selling drugs. Okay, that one's a toughie. That one's a toughie for me because a lot of my argument so far has been based on the fact that like people that are in possession of something that's illegal are getting punished the same way as someone that reaches out into the world to hurt somebody. But if you're selling something that's illegal, that could realistically be hurting people. So I guess we'd have to have a zero tolerance policy for that. For sure. Right? Yeah. I would agree with that.
Sorry, I had to
And
readjust my lamp. I was very shiny.
oh yeah. Thought you were a little shiny.
Well, so what would this tiering the prison system? What would this achieve?
It would stop. I think that getting into a situation with violent criminals, violent offenders is a place. It's a rock and a hard place. You have to do things to survive that you normally wouldn't do. It's making you into more of a criminal than you already are. If you have a small inclination to possess something that's technically criminal, and then you're thrown into a situation with nothing but criminals, and your entire social structure is based on criminal activities, and you're going to come out a different person. I want to be able to avoid that as much as possible and put people that are in a spot where they are turning to this illegal substance to try to solve their problems, gives them an avenue or an alternative route to try to solve their problems instead.
Okay.
So that the first tier would actually be focused a lot more on psychotherapy and such, I think. What do you think about that? How can you improve on that?
Give me an example of a crime that someone would commit to end up in one of these places.
In one of these places?
Yeah.
Possession of cocaine.
Okay.
Let's see.
But with not intent to sell.
See, that's the problem. Is that if there's a large enough amount, you could extrapolate. They do this right now in our law system. If it's a large enough amount, they can get you on intention to distribute, even if you didn't intend to. So, yeah, I think that, I don't know, maybe this is a little more kind-hearted than it should be because it's starting to fall apart right in front of me.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think your heart's in the right place, but I just don't think it's particularly feasible in a concrete one size fits all fashion. And when we live in a country as big as we do, and we have to regulate these things federally, you need a one size fits all option, and I don't think there is one for that solution. If I were to want to reform the prison system, I would say that we just need to spend more money on it, and we're kind of just putting these people in a hole, and then just like giving them food until they die, right?
Yeah.
So that's just not working in a good way. What should happen is we need to have avenues for legitimate recovery and rehabilitation instead of putting them in a hole for X amount of years, depending on what crime they committed.
Absolutely.
It's very archaic to punish someone who's in your society instead of uplifting them, and not necessarily, I shouldn't say uplifting, helping them get back up on their own and stop their current behavior.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And it's also just legitimately more profitable to help someone than to hinder them.
Imagine this. You incarcerate someone, they rehabilitate you, and then you send them a bill.
Wait, the person who was rehabilitated sends a bill?
No, I'm sorry, I said it backwards. So I go to jail and then get rehabilitated, and then I get a bill for my rehabilitation.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, am I way off base here?
I mean, I kind of like that actually. But then again, if you commit a crime, you're probably in debt forever, and then you're going to go to jail for not paying off your debt.
Oh yeah, that debtor's prison.
Does that not exist anymore?
No, they found out recently. Like we were in the building, so not that recently. But I found out when I was driving to the old building one day that debtor's prisons in Oklahoma, there was a huge scandal.
Oh.
Where somebody like looked into it. You know how we were talking about police don't keep records of things very well?
Yes.
So somebody finally got access to some records on how they're jailing people that can't pay their fines. And they were like, "Gads!" And there was a whole crackdown and they got slapped pretty hard. Ooh. So they definitely still exist to this day in secret if you get away with it, which is another scary thing about big government is that there's a lot of stuff that can slip through the cracks. Stuff like that some small sect of the government could be getting away with something because the larger picture is not focused on them.
All right. Debtor's prison. So they put you in a hole until you could pay them back?
Yeah. It's funny if you think about it, because how are you going to pay them back? You can't work.
All right, so here's how private prisons. There actually are publicly owned prisons. A private prison just charges the government per head that they take in per like month.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's sketchy.
And then the government just gives them money. Yeah,
the government's like, "Hey, we arrest people. We need a place to put them." And somebody's like, quick, build a building. The government wants to give me money. And then they get the money. That's messed up.
So I guess I don't understand why we don't have public prison as a standard.
Because money?
Well,
where are all these poor people that failed the psychological test to be a cop gonna go work, Donald? You know? They gotta work somewhere. We gotta put them in the prisons.
They'd work for the public prison, right?
Yeah, they should.
I don't get it.
They should. I mean, if you work for a public system, then you have more benefits, which I think that people who work in prisons don't necessarily have. Not saying that all the people that work in the prison system are saints, but I think that it takes a lot out of you for the current status quo to go into a prison every day. You'll become pretty calloused. I think that maybe like government funded therapy for those people, in fact, might be you might have to have a check with someone every once in a while, because people that are in that position for a long time sometimes fall into a pattern of abuse. And it's not all orange is the new black, but there is definitely a grain of truth in that sentiment that there's people that can get away with it, and they will, because they have absolute power over these people. And who's going to believe? Who are you going to believe? The security guard or the prisoner who's there because they were bad? Yeah. I'm an idiot.
Are you?
Yeah.
What'd you do? Tell me.
Nothing. No, it's fine.
Can't just leave me hanging like that.
I'll tell you later.
Okay. So you were talking about me before the stream, or talking to me about before the stream, something that you said Neuralink.
Neuralink, yeah. And I said I wish Jacob Young was here because we need to talk about it with him. There's a technology that Elon Musk is spearheading that is going to, I think it's going to put computer technology into your brain so that you can interface with your phone better. Basically, his premise is that there is a bottleneck on the information rate that your brain can translate to your phone, right? It's called your fingers. It just slows you down. So so if you take out that aspect of it and you can just think straight into it, you'll always have the power of the internet in your head as long as you have Wi-Fi, I guess. Which, sure, that I guess if we're playing with company money, put a Wi-Fi reader in there. That'd be cool. But would you be willing to do that? Was the question that I posed to you.
So what exactly does it do?
Let's look it up because I don't want to put words in Elon Musk's mouth. He'll probably flamethrower.
Neuralink. .com says, "Hello world. We're excited to share what we've been working on for the last 2 years. Tuesday, July 16th at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time." Wasn't that a long time ago? July 16th? Wait. No, that's May. Oh, yeah. This was 2019 then. It didn't have a year on it on the website. So,
okay.
But what did they do? I guess I'll click the read the paper button.
Looking at
an integrated brain machine interface platform with thousands of channels. Elon Musk. Brain machine interfaces, or BMIs, hold promise for the restoration of sensory and motor function and treatment of neurological disorders, but clinical BMIs have not yet been widely adopted, in part because modest channel counts have limited their potential. Channel counts. I'm assuming that means the ability to transfer data at at any given time.
I think so.
That it'd be sort of like bandwidth.
Yeah. Module placed outside the head that wirelessly receives information from a flexible. I guess it never really took off then. Interesting. Here's a link to it.
There's still new blog posts. Oh my gosh, I clicked on a blog post and there's just a million bajillion links. Heck? Oh, here we go. No, there's just a crazy Bruce Landon blog. That word. Yeah, I'm not getting very much information about Neuralink at all.
Yeah, I think it might have been more of a dream than they wanted to let on. But here we go. What about this? Brain-computer interface, or BCI. Direct communication pathway between an enhanced or wired brain and an external device like your phone. That was the spirit of my question to you, was if this technology were to come out that could link your brain to your phone, would you be willing to do that?
I'm just imagining it's in my head, Bluetooth connected.
Oh God, that'd be awful.
Would I specifically to interface with my phone faster? I don't think I need to. Maybe if I was paralyzed, it'd be awesome because then I'd never have to move. But
what about when you're taking your SATs though, and you had the Neuralink, you could just look up in your brain, turn your eyes to the right, and find the answers to the questions. Would you be?
That's cool.
More inclined to do that? I mean, you would be. Essentially, what I'm asking is, there's this new technology that makes you superhuman, but nobody knows the consequences yet. And I think that the consequences might be dire, but I want to be the third generation of people to do it. I want to watch 2 generations of people try it out first to get the bugs worked out. That's my thinking.
Depends on the drawbacks. If there were no health issues with it, sure, as long as I have the ability to turn it off and on at will. Those are my stipulations.
I don't think you could. I mean, it's in your brain. You can't factory default it or anything.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming if it's specifically to your phone, right? You could just turn the setting off on your phone and not have it connected.
That'd be, yeah. But then
can people hack me? Will I get hacked?
Exactly. What if it's not up to you anymore? Yeah.
Please look up, down, left, right in order to link.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of thought Jacob Young would be chiming in here any second now.
No, Jacob's not coming.
It's not coming.
Oh, man. So. Our chat is dead.
Yeah.
Ooh, I have an idea. Let me get on Discord. On my phone. Oh, I got another one on Discord. Oh. That's not how it works. Okay. So I'm going to message my good friend, Romwind.
Romwind?
Yeah, he's usually here.
Is he not here?
Mm-mm.
Have you checked? Is anybody here?
I don't think so. At least nobody talking.
Oh, thank God. I'm just hamming it up right now.
Yeah?
I don't know. What do you think?
We usually have people to rip off of.
Yeah.
In chat. You ever play Halo when you were younger?
I played Halo 1 at my house, and I played Halo 2 at my friend's house.
Hey, there's Romwind. I sent him a smiley face on Discord.
Oh, he showed up.
Yeah,
What's up, Romwind?
Halo Reach just came out for PC for the first time ever yesterday.
I remember you guys talking about that at work.
I have been playing a lot of it, and it's amazing, and I love it. I'm so happy. I've been waiting for so long. I'm trying to figure out how much it's sold in the past 2 days. But I don't know where to look for that.
So, I know I'm a bit of a boomer, but like, give me a ballpark figure. How much video games are you legitimately excited about and happy to play?
Nowadays?
Yeah.
Very few. The market for video games right now is entirely replayability. So games like League of Legends where you could play it a million bajillion times. And you're only spending money on cosmetics. Those are kind of what sell these days. As opposed to buying an expensive game console and buying a game and then beating it and then buying a different game.
Yeah, I never got much into the beating the game thing. I only ever cared about player versus player.
Oh,
in my experience. Yeah. Those are the games that I remember. But it seems like you guys at work, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you guys have a lot of like whenever there's those releases and those EA panels with judges and speakers, there's a lot of excitement for you guys for like the next Zelda game or the next fill in the blank. Metroid, I want to say, maybe. Is that how many of those series do you have running in your head where you have?
You're excited for the next one?
Yeah.
Me personally, that kind of died out after I stopped being a teenager. A little bit before that, because once it got to the point where I had to spend my own money in order to get the next game, it kind of lost its charm for me because I could just play a free game online or a game that I already own.
Yeah.
Plus, on top of that, I don't have the time to spend on it anymore because I have to work.
Right. Yeah. I I vaguely remember getting excited about it. I would just randomly I would occasionally just have this urge like come over me, and I would want to play Zelda all of a sudden. So
Oh
I
yeah.
would go. I remember vividly gathering up all my and old video games and taking them to Game Exchange or whatever,
Hmm.
trying to get the next Zelda. And I got that one with the Wii sword.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't great. Couldn't. I didn't finish it, but I never do. So yeah, I
uh,
just
the the kids nowadays, the ones that I've seen at least, they're a lot of them are playing the same type, just free games with micro purchases. Mobile games are all that. They're just that you could download them for free, and then they give you a million ads and say buy our premium currency
mhm.
because it works for developers. They, you know, Pokemon Go has still makes more money than the official releases. I don't know if it's done better than Sword and Shield did, the one that just came out. But it did better than Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Super Duper Moon, or I don't remember.
Oh
It's called.
my gosh, Pokemon! First of all, Pokemon Go is still happening.
Yeah,
Oh my
I think it's still
gosh,
making like 5 million a year.
can you train and evolve your Pokemon?
Yeah, I don't know if you.
Oh,
Yeah, you can.
okay.
Uh,
Well, that's cool. I remember playing that briefly, as everyone did.
yeah,
It
it
was
was
right.
huge.
Yeah, it was right around the time of the Ferguson riots, in North Carolina.
The let's see, Pokemon Go gross gross income. Can I say that? Oh my gosh. Pokemon Go has made over $3 billion. That's with a B.
Jeez, I thought that was such a fad. I can't believe it's still like going strong.
People spend a lot of money on mobile games, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I pay for a RuneScape subscription myself,
I mean
so I get it.
that's a premium subscription though. These are like buy 50 coins so you could level up faster. Like imagine
Oh,
if you were playing RuneScape and you wanted an attack level, so you put in your credit card. It's that type of thing. Doesn't that sound
yeah,
awful?
that sounds awful. Yeah,
It,
I don't know about that.
I had my nephew a few months ago begging me for Robux, the premium currency in Roblox, and
Hmm.
I it was his birthday, so I just gave him like $10 in Robux. He immediately spent it on a upgrade to for one game, which there are thousands on Roblox. He spent it on one game to double his damage that his sword does.
For a week.
For it lasts forever
Oh, well,
on that one
wow.
server.
Huh. That sounds good. Good investment.
I was watching him just spend the Robux immediately that he got with no like concern for I'm out of money now. It was just this is what I want, and he got it, and
Yeah,
he I think he was immediately disappointed.
I do that to myself, so I definitely get the feeling. Yeah.
It the structure for it for specifically with micro purchases it's totally new, right? Compared to what we had when we were growing up.
Yeah.
DLC was barely a thing when we were growing up, and even DLC was like kind of a big deal because you're paying for a $60 game and now you're paying more for additional parts of it.
Yeah.
And
I remember that rage around that.
like extra maps on Call of Duty or something.
Hmm.
So now people accuse developers of blocking certain parts of their game and calling it DLC, even though it's already available or it's already made and ready on release date. So it's not really extra content. It's just content that they already made, but they put behind a paywall.
Oh, okay.
That's, in my opinion, just a micro purchase.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if you're buying the next book in a series, for example, right? But if you've already written the entire story and you're just releasing it chunk by chunk to get more money out of it, It's the same problem that I have with it. Ruins. It's not even that it's wrong on a fundamental level per se. It's just that it ruins the content. Like how a movie can be critically appraised and acclaimed because it's a piece of art that somebody sat down and created beginning to end.
Yes.
Right. And if you have a Netflix series or a Hulu series, the only thing that matters to you, I should backtrack actually. A traditional TV series, a sitcom, or a case of the week procedural, any show like that, a narrative even, if it's going, you're making money. That's all that matters. Okay. You just have to keep the story going. So that has the illegitimacy to it, in my view, because as an art form, you need to submit the entirety of it. Just like how I was talking about previously, you know how I said I don't care about spoilers.
Yes.
And I get confused by people that are offended when the ending of their movie gets spoiled. I don't understand that because I studied literature in college, and we all know the end of, right?
We all know the end of what?
Of Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet, etc. We all know these stories back to front to back. But
I didn't the first time I read it.
Did it make it better?
It made it. I don't think people are sad that it's not going to be as good if they already know what it is. I think you're robbing them of that experience. Like, they're not, because now they know what the end is, they won't have an oh my gosh moment ever in their lives. Because now they already know what it is, right?
Well, I think there can be a lot of miniature oh my gosh moments as you read it if you know the twist at the end, right?
Well, I'm not arguing that, but why don't they say that until the second time around?
Oh. Okay, yeah, I can see. I definitely see where you're coming from. There's this freshness aspect of it where you get that first impression of it all on your own, and it's just a rush. I just don't get that. I'm not very emotionally driven by like the things that I consume. I try to look at it more analytically. So sometimes I miss out on the fun stuff like that, like just sitting there and enjoying the show. You ever meet somebody like that? They can't just sit down and enjoy a movie because they keep poking holes.
I'm like that sometimes.
Yeah, no, you are. I was hinting at that. I'm glad you caught
okay. On. Thanks.
You ever hear of a person that's like that? Yeah, no, that's you.
Thanks. I mean, I enjoy things. I sometimes like movies just because they're okay, or because they're fun, not because they're good movies. Like, there was a movie I watched that everybody hated, but I liked it. I can't remember what it was. Oh well, but
Pokemon movie.
Yeah, that's what it was. Detective Pikachu. I loved that movie.
Oh wait, really?
Yeah, it was really bad, but I loved it.
I couldn't bear to watch it because I was so afraid. After the Full Metal Alchemist Netflix original.
Oh,
I was just spooked forever.
But that's another good point. I liked the Death Note one. It was awful, but I liked it.
The Death Note live action movie?
Yeah, have you seen it?
I haven't seen that. I didn't know they had that. I haven't even seen the original Death.
It's so bad. It's so terrible, and I liked it.
I heard that Death Note itself is bad in the first place.
Oh no, Death Note's amazing. Death Note's incredible. It's one of the greatest animes.
What's it about?
It's about a guy who finds a notebook dropped by a god of death, and if you write someone's name in it, they die.
Oh, cool. I'll have to look that up.
The story is about how he avoids being identified and what he does with his power. It's really, really good.
That's awesome. There's a lot of really good anime out there, and I like it when I see it. Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop's an excellent one too. I'm waiting.
Changed my life.
There's a live action adaptation of that too.
Oh no! Oh no! Are you serious?
Yeah, I think it's in production right now.
Who's making it?
Netflix.
Oh.
Okay, Cowboy Bebop live action. Yes, it's Netflix.
You know what I'm slowly starting to realize about all streaming programs?
What's that?
they're all kind of garbage. Like they make this idea into their own studio. First of all, they start by selling other people's movies, and you grow to love them because of that. And then there's like Netflix originals, there's Hulu originals, there's
Yes.
Amazon originals, and they can even get great names for these things. Like Billy Bob Thornton was in one recently called Goliath that's on Amazon.
Sure. Yeah.
He was also in the adaptation of Fargo, the series.
Okay.
I think that was on Netflix. But my point being that you get these great names for these films and they somehow still turn out bad. And I think that it's because although we criticize Hollywood for how much they're like bearing down on the creative process on the whole,
Yeah.
I think that if you go to the other end of the spectrum and you have like a Netflix original and there's no overhead, everyone gets to do whatever they want, and all the ideas get like modge podge together at the end half-heartedly, then you get something like the Full Metal Alchemist live action movie, which was just a hot mess. It didn't even make sense.
Sure.
I I liked it because I like Full Metal Alchemist, but it doesn't it's not a work of art, you know?
Yeah. It's there's a lot of meddling done in the bureaucracy that is Hollywood movies, and you're not allowed to make something that you really love. Whereas if most anime starts out as just someone writing their own comic books and getting published, and then once people like it, then it gets an anime series and an animation studio. So there's like a filter before it gets made into something that has a higher production value. Whereas in Hollywood, you're kind of just like making this thing from scratch with movie adaptations specifically, because typically if you're making a, let's say, a straight to TV movie for a cartoon, you're telling a story in that cartoon, right? When you're making a live action movie, it's always for some reason has to be about the start. You got to start at the beginning
Yeah, that makes sense.
instead of continuing on. Because if you think about it, if you're only catering to the existing fans, then they're not going to see the movie unless they know what's happening. If you just start out in the middle and have a continuation, then you're kind of alienating part of your audience. And I guess it's a risk that they don't want to take.
That's so disappointing. I would love to see just like a straight up Full Metal Alchemist in the middle of Full Metal Alchemy. You know, just right straight out the gates. Give me the action. Expect that I understand what's going on, and don't worry about getting new fans because you're probably not going to get new fans. Let's be honest. If you're trying to feed the corporate monster that is your brand, then stop making content. But if you're trying to keep telling the story in a way that's good, then absolutely live action bebop movie. I'm down. Let's do it. I doubt it will do it justice though.
Okay, well, so I recently saw an episode of Law and Order, Alex. Um, in order to quote the episode, let's see, what was it? In the gosh, I can't remember what they said. Oh, here it is. In the criminal justice system, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. In New York City, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Victims Unit. These are their stories. Bum bum. It was an episode of Law and Order SVU, and they were talking about a young girl who who was part of an immigration. What's the word?
Sting.
I suppose. Her and her mother illegally crossed the border, and her mother was detained, and she was put in foster housing.
Oh, okay.
And the episode was about that she was torn away from her mother while her mother was seeking temporary citizenship for asylum.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of trying to shine light on the situation at the border, specifically for families who, in this specific scenario, the mother was escaping persecution from a large gang in Guatemala because
Yeah.
they witnessed a murder, so they wanted to get out quickly, and they got smuggled into America, and the daughter was like super traumatized because she was literally ripped away from her mother's arms, and her mother was likely not going to get pushed forward on anything for months, so they would be separated for that long at least. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm glad that you finally come to terms with the fact that our situation at the border is less than ideal. And I'm so glad that you found it in your heart to be able to completely 180 your stance on the situation. And you're finally able to allow as many illegal immigrants into the country as is necessary to protect them. God bless them. No, I'm just kidding. I think that that's a good episode. I don't like those cheesy case of the week procedurals.
I love SVU.
They seem to gravitate towards issues that are pretty open and shut. And I don't think that that is an open and shut issue. So it might not be helpful that they're portraying it. But it does make you think. I mean, the problems that these people face are not like they're so time sensitive that there can't be a series of policies and procedures in place that works fast enough to process all of them to keep them safe.
Yes.
Right?
Their current wait times may exceed current wait times with anything like that is in so long. Why does it take weeks or months to get a hearing for something like that? Why is, gosh, it requires a lot of looking into, which a lot of things currently do, like how I keep talking about we should look into where our government spending and tax money is going to. And we need to look into why it's taking so long to get these things processed. We need to take a look into why we have such a huge immigration issue. There's a lot of things we need to look into. We just don't have enough information for, I don't think.
Yeah, the thought, where does your information come from, often comes up when I have political arguments with people outside of this show, because this show's whole point is to accept that what the other person says is true and then try to argue about it
What are you
intellectually.
talking about? Where did you hear that?
What?
I'm just kidding.
So I think that the fact that we don't actually know what's happening with the situation at the border a lot of the time is holding us back from making a good decision regarding it. And all I know for sure is that this fantastical idea of criminals crossing the border purely for their own gains and to harm Americans, abusing the systems, I don't think that exists. I think. Go ahead.
Don't. I'm listening.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hand.
No.
Oh, okay. I lost my train. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh God.
You were talking about how we don't have enough information to make good points or arguments about what's happening at the border.
That's a great argument. Good job, Alexander. That's perfect. Yeah. But I don't have an. what I'm trying to say is I'm an idiot and I can't explain why the border situation is bad, but I know it's bad because my emotions. Okay. I just disagree with the idea that the majority of the people are these bad guys that Trump supporters, I'm just going to come clean with it, are making them out to be. You know? I think that the majority of the people that have a vested interest in becoming an illegal immigrant, enough so to do so, are actually in danger and they have very little choice in the matter. I think that they're just fleeing to wherever they can flee to. And I think that, like I've said before, if we had a system in place where you could become a temporary citizen just by being here, and then as soon as tax time comes around, if you're not on the ball by that point, then you're going to get audited and you might get kicked out. But if we give them a little time frame where, hey, you fudge the rules because you needed to for your survival, big deal. As long as you're up on the up and up by this deadline, arbitrary set, then you're fine and you won't be deported. I think that's my solution to it. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, the particular issue is that processing those sorts of claims, specifically with people at the border who are coming in and then being detained, them being processed is the bottleneck, I believe. And that's what the episode of Law and Order was about, at least.
Was this bottleneck that exists?
It was how long it's going to take the mother in order to get citizenship, or at least temporarily, because of she was seeking asylum. The moral of the story was just as long as your daughter runs away from her foster home and the NYPD takes a hold of her, then they could pull strings and then get her immigration thing taken care of quickly. That was really the resolution.
Nice.
Sorry to spoil it if anybody wanted to see it, but the episode, I think, was more created to make people mad about the current situation at the border. They made the little actress, bless her heart, say, they told her that her mom broke the laws of our country, and she says, well, what did I do wrong? And they say, you didn't do anything, sweet. You're innocent.
That's cute. Yeah.
Wasn't it?
What do you think about that, Don? I feel like you're kind of ramping up to.
It's in that specific situation. I think what the mother did was the correct thing. I think cross the border illegally in order to not die, because she was actually in mortal danger and needed to get away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the vast majority of immigration cases, though.
Oh, okay. Well, be that as it may, this is a little bit for those of you guys just tuning in. Donald has had a really severe stance on illegal immigrants before, so this is actually like a little bit of a bridging the gap between our two opinions right now, is what I think is happening. Is that way off? Is that way off base? Am I too excited about this?
Keep trying. You might get there.
I mean, I just keep thinking that you see this episode of Law and Order SVU, the language that you can understand, and it speaks to you. What's the rapper's name that's on there?
Ice-T.
Ice-T, yeah. Oh man.
I love him.
He's great. But I think that this is that one prime example is my entire argument, is that there is this actual situation that happens where you have no choice and you have to come through. That's why we have to be more lenient. Because what if that 1 in 100,000 is trying to pass through at the time, and you take their kids away and you punish them for it just for doing the right thing? That would be a grave mistake. And I think that regardless of political affiliation, we can all.
How do you get into any country legally? You need a passport, right? Isn't that all you need? You need a passport and you need to go through customs. Isn't that it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And that's true with pretty much any country, yeah? Like, I can go to France or Kuwait or Constantinople. Can't go there. Istanbul, as long as I have a passport, right?
Yeah.
So, what's preventing these people from getting passports in their own country? In order to get into a country, maybe temporarily, or maybe they get into the country and then start working towards their citizenship.
Yeah. I don't know, except for that I in my experience, poverty is kind of a vicious cycle. Oh, we have a comment.
Immigration is treated differently. Most Western countries get people based on skill sets.
Yeah, that requested immigration. I've heard of that.
All right.
Where you kind of draft people to the team.
I'm specifically talking about, though, if you were wanting to seek asylum in another country because you're being persecuted in your own, what's preventing you from... Why do you have to sneak across the border instead of showing them your passport that you have and walking through? That's something that the specifically this episode didn't elaborate on at all. It didn't say why she did that. It just says that she did because that was her only choice.
Shots fired. Law and order. No. I think that those, I don't know, except for that this argument that I have that when you're in poverty, it's a cycle and it's vicious. Maybe all that you can do is wake up in the morning and try to scrounge up enough work to get food for your baby or something, etc. And then you don't have time to go through the proper channels before the threat, or maybe the corruption of this gang that she's fleeing from permeates so far into the government that her ability to pass by the border is impacted. You know what I mean?
No, you stay here.
Yeah, if the powers that be are influencing the government enough to the point that they control who passes through the border, then you could be equally in danger just trying to go through the legal channels as you would be staying put.
So
you know what I was
specifically
talking
for people who are persecuted by their own government?
That's what I was gonna get at, is that we were talking about this on Thanksgiving, me and my family.
Okay. You got political on Thanksgiving. That's taboo.
We did. It's dangerous. Yeah, it's dangerously taboo. But the point that we came to, or that I forced the conversation to because I'm an asshat, was that the original American people on this boat, the Mayflower, were fleeing from religious persecution. And they just wound up where they wounded up and just did the best they could after being persecuted. And that's the root of our American culture. So what makes these people that are fleeing from a tyrannical government any more different or any less American than we are? Not me, obviously, because I'm Native American, but you guys.
There's a difference, though. When these people were fleeing, the people who were already there, the Indians, didn't have to support them. They kind of just built camp and then supported themselves, right?
Well, wasn't that... I know that a lot of Thanksgiving story is fabricated, but isn't there a little bit of truth to the fact that they did help them?
Supporting themselves is a light way to put it. Yeah, they kind of like fought the wilderness and incredible sickness and hardships in order to survive. So I don't think anybody's stopping immigrants from doing specifically that. I think they're stopping immigrants from coming in and taking advantage of the system.
Yeah, because there is a system in place to take advantage of. I'm just saying that we weren't complaining about that when we came over, that there was no system in place and that we could make our own system, right? I guess that is a little bit, I don't think that's a one-to-one comparison very well. So? No, I don't. I've retracted my statement. Because that is an entirely new society that you're making. But these people don't have the luxury to make their own society. They have to try to, they only have the path of, like, okay, so these people are in trouble, right? These people are struggling. They're in danger. And by virtue of the fact that they end up in our country, that leads me to believe that ending up in our country, however it may be, is the path of least resistance. Because that is generally the place you're going to end up, is at the end of the path of least resistance, right?
Okay. Where are you getting with this?
I don't know.
I couldn't imagine where you were getting with that. So
Yeah.
because it's easy to get to America, we should let them in.
I mean, I think that they're cornered in a lot of ways, just like we are. And if we had landed in a place where we needed to obey the customs that already existed,
I
would
don't think if I walk into France and be mad at France that they're not catering to me. I don't think that I should start a French Revolution with the people who think that they should take care of me.
no, yeah, that's
Imagine
true.
going to any other country at all. Like, let's say we'd take you to Greece, or we take you to Spain, and then just kind of dump you, throw you on the shore, and then say, "All right, go in, have fun." Is
Well, wait a
Spain
minute.
is Spain responsible for taking care of you as an immigrant?
Wait a minute. Doesn't that kind of illustrate my point, though?
Does it?
That America is exceptional in that regard.
No.
In that, no.
America.
Okay. Well, fuck me. Okay. Never mind.
I don't think that Americans have ever really, or America as a whole, has ever really taken in mass amounts of people who
Tired and weak people.
because with mass immigration from, let's say, was it 100 years ago with the Irish?
Mm-hmm.
They were migrating legally, right?
Yeah.
So we do take people in through legal
Oh,
channels.
Romlin says no. Romlin says no.
Well, they're not.
I'm so glad that.
Uh
uh,
oh. I have to fact check myself.
mhm. Let's find out. I think that they made a bunch of laws. If my history lessons
Okay.
are being remembered correctly.
In the 100 years between 1800 and 1930, or 1820 and 1930, it's estimated that about 5 million arrived. About a third of all immigration during 1820 to 1860 was Irish. Okay. So, was it legal though?
I don't know if
Preferred immigrants. Back in the 1800s. Preferred immigration. In the 1800s. There was a quota system originally, and it was replaced with the preference system. Let's see. Geez, I'm reading. So actually, the quota system was in the 1900s. The quota system ended and replaced it with a preference system during the Lyndon B. Johnson run. Apparently, it was a 7 points preference system emphasizing skill sets and family reunification. But that was in the 1960s. So, Vic, what are you referring to with the preferred immigrants?
I think it's problematic. If I can chime in, I think any way we look at it, if we're starting to pick and choose which people are allowed, it's problematic in some capacity, right?
Kind of. If let's bring it to a small. Thank you. You'll find an example. Thank you. Let's bring it to a small set. So let's say that you have a small group where you and a few friends play dungeon, or let's say a board game. So you're all getting together to play Clue once a week, and you're all playing Clue, and then you're like, you know what? There's about 700 people banging on our door every week saying that they really want to play Clue with us. Should we let some of them in? And then do you say, okay, sure. Now, do you let all of them in to be fair to all of them? Do you let a random one in to be fair to them, but realizing you don't have enough space for all of them? Or do you pick which one you want based off of the who would be best at playing Clue and integrating with your group of friends? Those are your choices.
That's a rock and a hard place. Interesting. I mean, if you had to, my main argument against that would be that, well, I don't even need to cover that ground. Obviously, Clue isn't a life-saving game.
Right.
It's not going to prevent your death or anything special. But the
To
point
give you a
still
good weekend.
stands. Yeah, the point still stands that if you are saddled with the choice and you have to make a choice, why would you not use your intellectual prowess to make a choice that would benefit you the most?
Right.
Unless there was a moral alternative to this where you would make a choice based on how you would help the most people.
You're the only one in the world with this board game. Clue's amazing. And
Yeah.
they will never play it unless you let them in and play it with them.
That's kind of ironic you saying that, because
What?
I don't know.
I like
Never
Clue.
mind. Let's see. Solidarity US org.
All right, I'm click that link. Immigration and Racial Bias by Malik Mia. The immigration debate, blah 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 blah, 2012, blah 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 blah, hate groups, blah blah blah. Okay, let's look for the year 1882. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. Ooh. Ugh. Okay, race underpins history. Immigration has had a racial bias since the Civil War. Hardly surprising for a society built on slave labor. Okay.
Yeah.
The United States' founding fathers. Here, I'll put it over here so you can read it a little bit. I'm in the section Race Underpins History. Immigration, blah, blah, blah. The first people to carry papers everywhere were freed slaves. Those living in non-slave states. How else could you prove you're not a runaway slave? And Native Americans were conquered people without rights who to this day have the worst living conditions than any other ethnic group. What am I looking for here? Okay, here we go. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. The most significant restriction on free immigration in U.S. history was the first time that a federal law denied entry of an ethnic group on the basis that it endangered the good order of the country.
Oh my gosh, that happened.
The law explicitly excluded Chinese skilled and unskilled laborers employed in mining.
That's messed up because we made them do the railroads too.
At the time, Chinese immigrants were the largest immigrant group in the state of California. The state passed more racist laws, for example, making it illegal for Chinese and whites to intermarry. Oh.
That is wild.
Jeez.
So you have to admit that we have dropped the ball in the past.
Sure. I'd say we're way better now because this just sounds incredibly asinine at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Dude. TLDR for my words on it would be that immigration in the past has favored Europeans. Interesting. I mean, were there clearly for the Chinese, there have definitely been some horrible ones. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I can find any other races in this specific article. Let's see. Chinese. The National Origins Act included all Chinese again. Okay. Chinese. Okay, here we go. The Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 was also the most positive change for legal immigration. It repealed an immigrant quota system. Yeah, oh yeah, I was reading about that on the other one.
Yeah, I would say that I want to say that there's several countries that have quota systems in place, and I think that they're actually proud of them. I don't think it's a point of discontent for those countries. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I think that this is more like the quota system is more common than just us. So it might sound offensive to certain people if we say that that's not fair, but that's not fair. I don't know. I don't know. I want to help everybody, but if there's only certain people you can help, I guess it makes more sense to help the people that'll help you.
I think Malik Mia is open borders advocate. I think. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, here we are. The solution: open the borders. Yeah.
Hey, that's what I was saying.
Open borders. It sounds terrifying to me. Here, would you want open borders?
Hold on a sec.
Allow citizenship to anybody who wants it?
I would say if I had to defend open borders as a stance, here's a breakdown for you. So let's say that there's 10 people that come over to our country.
Okay.
Because we have open borders. 9 of those people are fine people. They get jobs and begin working and begin to start families. And then the 10th one in the group is a criminal. Okay. Right? He has psychopathic tendencies. He breaks into your house and he actually kills you.
Well, I'm dead. Okay.
Okay, so you're dead. Now, at what point does your life become worth more than those 9 other immigrants' lives? If they were actually fleeing from tyranny. Okay. That's a good philosophy question. I understand that doesn't apply in real life. 9 out of 10 people aren't perfectly innocent sheep, you know? But
I see what you're saying.
At what point can you start measuring life for life? Who's worth more? And so, if you can,
in this hypothetical perfect vacuum where we know all this information, then it's hard to say. So we're at 1 out of every 10 immigrant is a horrible, terrible murder person.
Mm-hmm.
And 9 out of 10 are.
I'm giving you that.
Okay, 9 out of 10 are wonderfully skilled, doctors, mathematicians, scientists, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Grey's Anatomy level.
Okay. Well then, I mean that's an A-. I'd say allow that and also increase, reduce restrictions on gun ownership. Then we're good. Then I could just shoot the guy. There's my compromise.
Okay.
In this specific situation, the problem with open borders though is just you're allowing anybody to come in to work and pay taxes, but you're also allowing them to also come in and use federal resources such as food stamps or anything else, any other federally funded program. So it's kind of a two-way street. The people who are coming in the majority of them are not highly skilled, highly trained people who want to find jobs, because I mean in this day and age, it's hard to have the motivation to do that, and I understand that. So it's really hard to take a moral stance and put that into a law. And that's kind of the thing, because you have to think about it as a cold and calculated decision. What does this affect? Is it worth the negatives? Are the positives enough to cover the negatives? Can we write this into law that makes it fair for everybody involved? And with open borders, I don't think it can.
That seems to be a recurring theme in all of these episodes, is that there's this liberal side that thinks that there is a dream world where we can finally achieve peace and harmony if we just legislate enough morality. And then there's a cold calculating Republican conservative side over here that's saying what has worked in the past, what will work in the future, let's make it work. And we've got a comment.
I think the Ron one says, I think that a main contributing factor is the cartels, and I think it wouldn't be terribly outlandish to label them as terrorists as they've embedded themselves into Latin American governments. Interesting.
Exactly. Absolutely. These people that are, you might as well be fleeing a tyrannical government because the cartel has so infiltrated the government.
If you become a target of the cartel, you're a dead person.
I think so. That's what the show Goliath that I've been watching surely wants you to believe.
So, should the U.S. treat them as terrorists, and should military intervention with the cooperation of Mexico? Ooh, or would that be destabilizing the Latin America?
Well, didn't Trump declare a state of emergency at the border?
Yes, but I think actually President Trump offered to help the Mexican government to help take care of the cartels. I would be totally supportive of us arming people and marching boots over the border and
boots on the ground
and getting rid of the cartels in like totally, and because
yeah.
I think that our military is significantly stronger than the drug cartels are.
Although we do have we kind of have a track record of intervening and then national coalition to remove the cartels.
I was thinking of a NATO coalition to remove the cartels impacting the USA the most. Oh, so it would more be for our own benefit? Interesting. Yes. Yeah, that too.
Are we not withdrawn from NATO? Did America do that? Or is that G7? I can't remember.
No,
I'm sure I look so intelligent right now.
Oh yeah. NATO includes Canada, Croatia, Czech. Oh, this is in alphabetical order. Wonderful. Let me scroll down. Yeah, United States is part of NATO. Oh wait, it's not highlighted. Why is it not highlighted? Oh, because we're not part of the European Union. Neither is Canada. Haha.
EU. That's what I was thinking of. My mistake.
Oh yeah, okay. No, we're not part of the European Union. That's yucky. We're part of NATO. Yes, we are. Most of Europe is, and Canada and the United States are. Yeah, we are NATO. We made that. We just make it and then back out. That's funny. So like I wonder why Mexico's not part of NATO. What, they're the only North American country that isn't. Out of the three, or that's funny. Why isn't?
You think that's a Googleable question?
The first one is why isn't Mexico in NATO? Ooh. There's a lot of different answers. This is a super long one. It requires you to go into the deep history of what created NATO. It says apparently the U.S. would never have allowed Mexico to be part of the treaty when the two nations had a barely cordial relationship during the 1940s when it was created. Mexico had no capacity to enforce the oceanic security because they were desperately poor. It wasn't trusted by any other members, and it posed no threat. So they had no grounds to stand on.
Yeah.
You are opposed to them joining. Yeah, specifically with the. You're not opposed to them? You're not? Okay.
That was almost dangerous.
You're totally opposed. Yeah. Mexico can't be part of my NATO. This is my NATO.
My NATO. I think that Mexico's been kind of in a rough spot since if I'm remembering correctly, you know how they always tell us to remember the Alamo?
Yes. I don't remember what that is, though.
I don't either. Absolutely. So
Sorry.
we're all on the same page.
So to be completely serious, do you remember the Alamo?
I remember that David Bowie.
Okay, so Alamo.com. Here, Alamo Rent a Car. Okay, so the Alamo was in San Antonio, right?
Mhm.
It was in Texas. So it was when was it was a huge battlefield that you can just look at. Here, I'll show you a picture because it's really well documented. This is where it was fought. Now people are walking around and looking at it. And here's what it was in 1836.
Wow.
Isn't it? It's very pretty. Here, let me put that on screen. Right here. It's not showing up. There we are. Okay, so here is what I'm. This is the Alamo right here, right? So very pretty. This was the right here. Now you remember the Alamo, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm sorry. I'm actually just shit posting.
Oh no, you're good. So the Alamo was a conflict that American forces and Mexican forces entered into, and it was pretty much kind of what you said, shit posting, because there was no way that the Alamo was going to win. They wrote to Abraham Lincoln, I think, requesting more troops. I want to say, and there weren't more troops coming, and they got soundly defeated.
Yes. Okay. Cool. So we remember the Alamo.
Great.
Now we'll
Perfect.
stop talking about the Alamo, and instead, I wanted to have a sort of a mock argument with you. I wanted to pretend to be someone who just takes things very personally and gets really upset when you question my beliefs. And I want to hear if you can come up with any ways to overcome my irrationality.
Yeah, I majored in this. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So let's say I am a person who is very against uh, owning weapons, right? I don't think anybody should own weapons. Try to convince me that people should be allowed to own weapons.
Oh, okay.
Go.
Hey, how's it going?
What are you talking about? No, we shouldn't own weapons. Wait, I'm sorry.
Shouldn't own weapons. I kind of hear you, brother. I hear you. I hate guns myself,
Oh,
but
okay,
I own two of them.
You what? Why would you ever
Yep.
need two weapons?
Well, I sometimes fear for the safety of my family, and there's things that happen outside of my control, and as long as I keep them locked up safely, I don't see any problem with it.
Hello? If you own weapons, then that means anybody can own weapons. And that means that people can break into my house with your weapons and kill my children, and I don't accept that.
Okay. Let's go ahead and try to back it up here and talk about you think that they're going to break in with these weapons and hurt your family
Or commit a mass shooting.
or commit a mass shooting. People that know should be shot. Yeah. That's about what I was getting at. I don't think that there's a argument to be made. I'm not one of those every good guy should have a gun people, so don't worry. Don't run away yet. I do think that there's something to be said about having a response with a trained, licensed person in regards to mass shootings and breaking and entering.
If we didn't have guns in this country, we wouldn't have mass shootings, period. Hello?
If we didn't have guns in this country, we wouldn't have mass shootings. Sure, but how do you propose that we don't have guns in this country?
We just repeal the Second Amendment entirely, make it illegal to own guns.
But then what about the police? Don't you want the police to have guns?
Of course.
So what if the policemen make a new law that says that you're not allowed to have your
Have
and then they come to your door. Have your hair that long. Your hair as long as it is. What if the police were to tell you that you couldn't have your hair as long as it is?
Then I wouldn't vote for it.
Okay, so what if you were just a vocal minority of people that were trying to have long hair and you couldn't get traction in your movement, and then eventually the police come to your door and say, "Hey, we got these clippers. You got to come out here. We're going to shave your head."
All right, listen. I know you're making all these points and whatnot, and your facts and your logic, but if we didn't have guns, then all these problems would go away. Period. You understand me? My children are not more important than your wanting to shoot your rootin' tootin' supersonic 22. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that type of person can be reasoned with. You're absolutely right. That's a good point.
I had to go in just a few steps above crazy in order to, because you totally walked me into a logical corner and I couldn't think of anything to say.
No, I do think that there are people who are just talking out their emotions, basically, and they don't actually logic through the problems that they're discussing. And I think that those types of people, if you got them in a situation like this, where me and you just 1v1 and you had to actually extrapolate and figure out what's going on, then they might be reasonable. But for the most part, what they're after is the mentality of the crowd and getting into that mob and being part of a movement that they can feel. And I don't think that is very good grounds for discussion.
Well, yeah, it's hard to have people take the time out of their day to change, to have their mind changed. It's because you're taking them out of their comfort zone, for one, getting them to talk about something they may not want to talk about, or having to hear someone else's argument which they don't agree with. It's hard you can't force someone into that situation. They have to want to talk about it, because you can't like trap them in it and then just start talking about your side of the argument because they won't take it well.
Yeah,
it has to be an accepted thing.
That's really hard, and no one's going to want to have that discussion,
right?
Because it's so much easier to just believe what you believe. So it's kind of a paradox to try to have a discourse revival, I would say.
I wouldn't think so. I think it just requires a lot of effort.
A lot of effort, a lot of time put in, a lot of exacerbated sounds and such, So I've recently gotten into vaping.
You did what?
Yes, there's this thing called vaping. You've heard of cigarette smoking, but vaping.
We get it. You vape.
Yeah, we get it. You vape. That's a great meme. But I have some mixed feelings about it. Honestly, I think that there's a couple problems with it. One,
you don't think rootin' tootin' berry flavored is gonna not attract any people that we don't want to have vaping?
Yeah, that's definitely a big problem. Is that these things? It sounds fun for children. Children are going to want to pick them up, and also with actual cigarettes. I was talking to Marvin about this just the other day. You have to work to catch a buzz off a cigarette. You have to smoke it, and it hurts your lungs, and it burns you up inside a little bit. But then you get the buzz. With these things, with these vape things, you just press a button and inhale, and it gets you the entire buzz of a whole cigarette in one puff.
Oh.
It's a lot more potent, I would say.
Okay.
So it gets you hooked faster and more efficiently.
Okay.
And also, there's a lot of steps in the process that are mechanical that lead me to believe that there's going to be problems with maintaining the equipment so that you don't get injured when using it.
Like what?
Like a burnt coil, for example.
Okay.
I was borrowing that one from Marvin. I told him, hey, this has been tasting funny for a couple days. And he started hacking. And he said, oh, this is a burnt coil. And I said, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. And I learned that I had been smoking on a burnt coil, which God knows what aluminum or whatever flecks of electrons I've been inhaling. Who knows, right?
Do you think there's not enough R&D on it?
R&D, research and design.
Development.
Research and development. Yeah, I don't think we're there yet for sure. I think we have a long history. Do you remember? Obviously, you don't remember, but there was a thing in history when radium was put into watches.
No, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, they used to put radium into watches because they would glow in the dark at night.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And this was before they knew that nuclear, unstable elements would give you cancer.
Nuclear active, yeah.
Yeah. Radioactive, yeah.
Radioactive decay, yes.
Yeah, so that's what I think about when I see these new vape things. That's just my 2 cents on the issue.
Well, I just more have a problem with it that it's more looks like candy to both adults and children alike, specifically teenagers. It's super easy and super accessible. Because there's no even cigarettes took a very long time to get a decent social stigma. There's more people nowadays that hate cigarettes than there were 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
It was super cool in the movies then, but now it's just gross. And if I see someone smoking, I just want to not be near them. But with vaping, I don't care if you vape in the room with me. It smells like bubblegum or whatever.
Yeah, it's handy.
But it's addictive. It costs money and it changes your how your brain works.
It does.
So it'd be like if you had a medication that you could just buy at Quick Trip, and then you take one and then you're happy for an hour.
Yeah, it's not the way to do things. And even my wife pointed out to me when I had just started, I'd quit smoking cigarettes for at least 2 years, maybe a year and a half.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And so when I started vaping again recently, my wife immediately asked me, hey, do you think that is making you more grumpy? And it gave me pause for a second, because I do, now that I have this element in my life that makes me chill, if I haven't had it, if I haven't had it for a certain amount of time, yeah, I start to turn a little grumpier. Ooh. I really do. It impacts you negatively, and I need it, and I wake up thinking about it, and it's definitely on par with cigarettes, just because we don't have the research behind how much damage it's doing yet. Doesn't mean that it's going to be fine for a long time.
It's definitely significantly less than cigarettes.
Significantly, absolutely.
Even just by a pollution standpoint, it's just water vapor, and there's no gross byproduct that's you're flicking into the sidewalk.
Absolutely, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. There's you can't. There's side effects that are without reproach on my end. But
yeah, at this point, it's just it's like how you feel about drugs. You're only hurting yourself with it at this point. You're not hurting the people around you by them sniffing it. You're just hurting yourself, and it's changing your own mood. So your mood could affect other people, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Which is I need to remember that whenever I'm talking about drug abuse in the future, is that your mood can affect other people around you, even if you think like how a lot of libertarians think it's only affecting you. Your decisions are your decisions. That's all well and fine until you get grumpy and get behind the wheel and have a little road rage, etc.
Like nobody wants to be around someone who's drunk when nobody else is drunk. No, nobody wants to be around someone who's high when nobody else is high. It's right. So you're effectively making yourself buzzed. You're getting yourself a little nicotine buzz, which makes you act a bit differently. Or the opposite, when you want it but you can't have it, then you get your mood changes. It's the same thing, but to a significantly lesser extent, I think. Um, so if you're around someone who really wants to get a nicotine high and they're not, then it's kind of obnoxious too because they're unhappy or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's I don't think that's the fault of e-cigarettes. I think if we didn't have e-cigarettes, if they weren't created at all, I think our tobacco usage, tobacco and nicotine usage would have been a tenth of what it was 50 years ago. At
That's
least specifically with people under the age of 30.
so you really think that it's negative then?
Mm-hmm. Hey, Romwind or Vic, do you or any of your classmates at school, do they vape? We'll wait for that question to be answered. The and also the accessibility of it. Like you don't you just need to be 21, and that's the only restriction that you can get it. It's pretty heavily taxed, so excuse me. There's an incentive for it, for as far as the government goes.
Well, I think that there's a lot of other better chemicals that de-stress you that don't have a lot of the negative side effects that nicotine does.
Like what?
And I think that I don't know, like aspirin, maybe.
Oh.
I don't know. Anything besides something that you have to burn.
Well, it's really easy, is the thing.
Yeah.
So therapy is hard. Nicotine is easy.
That's true.
Having a stable emotional support system is hard. Weed is easy.
Yeah, that's true.
Having the ability to admit to people that you have a serious problem is hard. Drinking vodka is easy. It's about the amount of effort you have to put towards it, and when you're a kid and you want to run up and hug your mom to make you feel better because you scraped your knee. It's easy because it's easy and accessible. So I think it gives you the same feeling of comfort as you had when you were a kid, of that you're in control and you could make your own self happy with the help of another substance.
Yeah, that chemical dependency starts at a very young age, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Where like oxytocin, etc., that gets released when you hug your mom. You can start replacing that with other things in your environment, and it's pretty effective for troubleshooting momentarily. But then these problems still exist once you come down from that high, and you have to deal with them eventually. But you can keep putting them off for longer. Is that what you're saying?
Sort of. It's not so much that you can put them off for longer. You could just put them off indefinitely.
Indefinitely.
Because you instead of going to see taking care of your own feelings, you just grab the bottle and have a short term effect similar to a nicotine high. It's a short term effect. You feel better at that moment. Like you're a person who's both smoked and you're currently vaping. Do you, as opposed to let's say a few months ago before you started vaping, would you say that you feel your highs when you're vaping are better than your neutral when you weren't? Like do you feel better as a person while you have a nicotine high?
I don't think I do. No.
Do you feel happier?
Yeah, I do feel happier.
Because we're all just chasing that happy throughout your entire life, right? Do you feel worse when you don't have it than you did before you had it?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think the worse outweighs the happy? Because that's the balancing point. Because at that point, that it should just be okay. I'm done with this, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I did give it back to Marvin
Yeah.
the other day. Yeah, I did because it reminded me of you with your right. You were like
Wait, so
your League of Legends. You
oh
remember?
yeah, how
I would draw a
I stopped
comparison
playing.
because you told me, yeah, the just like how you told me the benefits are not outweighing the costs.
Oh yeah, sure. I was playing League of Legends and I just wasn't having fun with it. It was just a hassle, and I would hit the play game button and then I'd just not have fun the entire time,
Yeah,
or I'd
just
have
like
fun for like
chores.
5 minutes of the 30-minute game. So I just stopped playing for a while, and then I stopped playing for like 4 weeks, and then I played another game and it was fun again. It was cool.
Yeah,
It
that's like
wasn't.
me with my vapes. That's the same concept.
You have to realize when you're getting into a habit that you need to know, is this habit worth the amount of both financial, emotional, and any other type of cost. If it's not outweighing it anymore, then stop.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes vaping for some people has been like a way to stop smoking because they couldn't stop smoking because they're so dependent and addicted to it. They need that the nicotine in order to function properly.
Yeah, and I can't knock them for that. That's a good strategy.
1 second. Watch
Oh,
this. She has the hiccups. Oh my gosh. Oh, you can't really see it. She's giving me the.
hashtag cute.
That's Stella. She's adorable.
Is that
Go on,
Winchester?
Stella. No, that's Stella.
Oh, Stella. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Uh, Well, we got 19 more minutes. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about
How corporate America has a strangle on the proletariat.
the
We need to
stranglehold on the
eradicate the
proletariat.
bourgeoisie.
You know, I had a dream.
Saying words.
Yeah, I picked up on that. That was good. What do you think about? Oh, we already discussed Kamala Harris. Never mind. I am out of topics, ladies and gentlemen.
Totally out.
Oh no. Yeah.
Okay.
Um.
Oh my god.
All right. Somebody from the audience shout something out.
I don't think we're gonna get one.
Yeah, me neither.
Think they like to play Terraria.
That's all right. Should we?
Well, actually, you know what I was thinking? Last week, I briefly touched on how we could make a little project where we would create a scenario where someone could pretend to be act as a police officer in a controlled environment and react by responding how they would feel appropriately, specifically for the people who are the ones that say that the police officer should have done X, Y, or Z instead of shooting the person and them dying.
Right. So you're low key firing shots at me here.
Oh yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So Alex, we put you in those shoes and say, all right, Alex, you think you know what you should do? Here you go. Here's a gun. Here's a taser, and here's a beat stick. Choose one.
Yeah.
They're coming at you. You have 3 seconds, and then you turn around and there's a guy running at you with a knife.
Yeah, that'd be great. We're gonna have to try to do that.
Here's one tidbit of information that I was given, because I actually interviewed an ex-police officer and current security guard. This person told me that if someone is running at you with a knife from 30 feet away, that your gun is in your holster, you do not have enough time to draw your weapon and put it in an effective position in order to retaliate against the person running at you from 30 feet away. If you attempt to, you will be dead on the ground before you're able to. So,
which is crazy.
Yes. So because of that, they told me that nowadays police officers, if they know or think that you may or may not, or that you may or could even have any kind of weapon, their gun is already drawn and pointed at you, and you're being yelled at to get on the ground.
Which is really hard to expect people to do when they have a gun pointed at them.
Yes.
It's pretty
Well,
difficult.
I mean, if someone had a gun pointed at me, I'd say okay, and I'd put my hands up and I'd just slap the ground with my face.
You don't know what you would do. You might freak out. You might panic.
Ooh, you think so?
What if you did? I mean, what if you were 1 out of 10? You have a fight or flight response, and then your response is fight for no reason other than RNG.
Oh, so
Yeah.
So I have like a panic attack and then start to run at the officer who's pointing a gun at
You
me.
have a panic. No, you have a panic attack, and you gesticulate. You go like this.
Oh.
And move your arm, and then they start to think, "Oh no, he's reaching for something," and then take you out. There's a great example of that, a video that I saw of a policeman like, oh wait, I don't even want to spoil this because it might actually come up later.
Okay.
When we do the thing.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so there was this couple of policemen are confronting a couple of guys, and this guy is just mad. He's out there going, "Hey man, what are they doing, man? What is it?" And then his hands go like just barely towards his waistband. And the cop immediately tases him and just screaming. It's so great. But it's really funny, but it kind of illustrates that that's how they make the call, is that just like something little tiny like that. Like even if they asked you to reach for your wallet, you reach for your wallet, they might have a panic attack, just like you might have a panic attack. You know?
So with what we have with how technology is currently, I don't think that there is a better option.
That's valid.
I don't think that we have a better way to handle things. So with what we're given currently, we have to do the best that we can. And unfortunately, humans aren't great. So humans aren't perfect. So we're gonna have a few broken eggs on the floor who can't go to their families, whether it be on the police side or the other side.
Jeez, yeah, that's true.
I asked this person, in a situation like that where there is a potential aggressor, whose life is more important, and they responded by saying, "Well, your goal every day is to be able to go home and see your family that night. So whatever you have to do to make that happen."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was really powerful to me.
That's really powerful. Yeah. It's hard to feel bad for bad guys.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, we have to. We got to keep trying to feel bad for them. Otherwise, we'll become corrupt. It's so... It would be so easy to think that all the bad guys are just actually bad. It would be perfectly convenient if everyone was just like that perfect sociopathic Netflix, bad guy that is just bad because they're bad and you love them because they're bad. But in reality, there's all stories behind people's actions that you can't really accommodate for. And who knows? I mean, we'll have to get her opinion on that because I don't want to say any more regarding whose life is more valuable, obviously.
You just did a gender reveal.
Huh?
I was entirely androgynous of the gender, and then you just said that.
Oh, oops. You did good,
you
man.
You fool.
You did good. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So, I mean, I'm really excited about this workshop. I hope we make some more progress on it. I'll be playing a lot of new Halo Reach because I'm very happy with it coming out.
Yeah.
Man.
You got to PK with me more, though.
On RuneScape?
Yeah, PK with me on RuneScape. It's so much fun. I have so much fun PKing with you, even though it's not a team activity. It's just like watching you do it.
Well, I think we're officially out of topics because we finally brought up RuneScape on the stream. So
Yeah. Should we call it?
yeah, we're only about 10 minutes early. I don't think we're gonna get a rejection on chat. Thank you guys for coming out, and we will see
Thanks,
you next week.
everybody. See you guys.